Welcome to the Nerd Party.
It's going to be cold, it's going to be gray, and it's going to last the rest of your life. Am I quoting a movie or describing podcasting? Either way, I'm John Mills, and I'm here on Houselights to discuss the delightful 1990s comedy film starring Bill Murray, Groundhog Day, directed by Harold Ramis. And with me to discuss this in our, what is this, our portico of Ramis? Because we're only doing one film. Our portico of Ramis.
It's room. Yeah,
room
it's like
of Ramis?
Room of Ramis. Yeah, like if it's oh wait, no, where is it? Closet. I can't remember. Like
I pitched closet. You shot it down.
Oh, that's right.
You know what?
It's
we're just
room
going to
of
say.
Ramis.
You know what? No, I'm calling an audible. It's
Look, I came up with wing for Bond, and that's all I care about.
It is the gazebo of Ramis here on Houselights. And as you've just heard, I'm joined by my dear friends once again, as I am every single time when I wake up. Dr. Sci-Fi himself, Darren Moser, and Tristan Riddell. Darren, are you ready to repetitively discuss the same portion of this film over and over again for the next few minutes?
So is it going to be like a 5-minute version of the podcast that we just do over and over? Like you're going to kick in the intro again in about 10 minutes?
If you're going to do the bit, commit to the bit. That is my philosophy. Tristan, you all set to, I guess you would be playing the role of Larry the cameraman because I don't think either Darren or I could, hold the camera in quite the same way or know how the equipment works.
Am I the bum that dies and you can't save me, John?
No. I would actually, you know what? You'll be Ned. And I will go ahead.
Ryerson!
Yeah, needle nose down. There you go.
Bing!
And I mean, as for me, this is the first film I ever knew who Stephen Tobolowsky was, and what a joy he is in this film. Just absolutely fantastic. But, before we get started, of course, as we do every single time, repetitively, we ask you to give us a star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts and reach out to us on social media. Of course, it's at Join Nerd Party on Twitter, the Nerd Party on Facebook and Instagram, and you can reach out to us at thenerdparty.com/contact, and you can reach out to Darren at Dr. Sci-Fi. You can reach out to Tristan at The Insane Robin, and me, of course, online. I'm Kessel Junkie. So here we are, 1993's Groundhog Day. And this is a film that I'm old enough. I saw it in the movie theater. I'm the old man. I've seen it there. And you guys were in diapers, I think, something like that. Tristan, let's start off with you. When was the first time you encountered Groundhog Day?
This was not one of those momentous occasions where, like, my dad sat me down and said, "Son, today we're going to watch Groundhog Day." It was something that was kind of ever present. It was, like to this day, I haven't sat down and watched A Christmas Story from beginning to end. Never done it. Probably never will. And with Groundhog Day, it was kind of the same thing where like it was just always on TBS. It was always there. I've seen all of it several times, but never sat down to watch it from beginning to end. This might have been the first time I watched it from beginning to end.
Wow.
Or at most, the second time. And the first time was lost in the annals of history. So I knew everything that was going to happen, but there was a few things where I was just like, oh, I really don't remember that scene. Like when he shows up dressed like a cowboy to go to the movie theater. I have zero recollection of that. Or when he's about to have sex with what's her name. Zero recollection of that. So maybe that was cut for time on TV. I'm not quite sure.
I would say that the scene where he shows up dressed as Clint Eastwood for the movie, not the most memorable bit of Groundhog Day. There's no doubt that's not the part that you hold on to. But Darren, did you encounter this bits and pieces through TBS, or was this something where somebody rented it one night and you all sat down and watched it?
Yeah, again, this was probably a Blockbuster rental. We didn't have cable growing up, so while we obviously there were like, the Sunday night movie on ABC or something like that. That was probably not this movie with Groundhog Day, but yeah, I have seen it in order many times, unlike my colleague Tristan. But no, it's so interesting. Whether you're a Bill Murray fan, whether you're a Harold Ramis fan, but this movie could just be a one-note jerk movie, but because they put the life lesson and the arc of the character into it, I feel like this is also one of those movies that everybody watches when those articles pop up every once in a while that say, how many days was he stuck in the loop? And I don't even remember what the supposed counter is. It's years and years. I think they took like each of the pieces. They're like, okay, well, how long does it take you to get proficient at piano? And how long does it take you to be a master ice sculptor and things like that? And they just kind of rounded it all out. And I'm like, it sounds like hell. It would have been like, at least I think like 7 years or something that he was in the loop.
Well, 7 years well spent because, like you said, he picked up a lot of very valuable and interesting skills along the way. But I do want to say here, but Groundhog Day, everybody talks about Murray because this is definitely the moment in time where Murray figures out how to transition his career to the Bill Murray we know now. Previous to this, he's a little bit zanier in his portrayals. It's a little bit weirder. This is a little bit more of a mature type of character than he's played previously. And so what I want to do is everybody talks about Murray with good reason, and we will too. But I do want to talk about Ramis. Ramis is one of those names that gets overlooked in terms of shaping 1980s and to a lesser extent 90s comedy. Tristan is giving me a funny look, but I'm talking about people outside of our bubble. If I walked up to my wife and I said Harold Ramis, she'd be like, who the hell are you talking about? I was like, from Egon from Ghostbusters. She'd be like, oh yeah, that guy. She's not going to say the director of Caddyshack, the director of National Lampoon's Vacation, two films which are treasured classics for people who grew up in the 80s. Okay, these are movies that people knew backwards and forwards. He was in Ghostbusters. He wrote Stripes. Like, he was a comedy powerhouse. He was tied to National Lampoon, SCTV, all of these things. And his directorial career comes to a grinding halt after a film not even I've seen, Club Paradise in 1986, starring Robin Williams and a cast of other people. I will get around to it someday. Groundhog Day, he busts back onto the scene as director. And it just kicks the door open sort of thing. What I want to ask is, and I'll ask you first, Aaron, is there anything about this where you look at it and you say, oh yeah, that's a Harold Ramis movie. That's a visual touch of his, or that's a signature. We all talk about, well, if I sit down and you put a couple of frames up, I'd be like, oh, did Kubrick direct this? Did Nolan direct this? Did Fincher direct this? Is there anything where you sit down and you go, yes, absolutely. That's a Ramis movie. He's the only one that could have done this way.
I mean, it's weird. I feel like yes, but I couldn't tell you what that magic secret sauce is. Like, it does, and maybe it's like I was saying before, it's the... I think Ramis had the talent of recognizing comedy can't stand on its own all the time. Even, and again, like, he's not always, the director. Like, again, when I think of Ramis, I think of Caddyshack, this movie, Ghostbusters, which again, I know he doesn't direct Ghostbusters, but I feel like, or did he do Stripes? Yeah, he did Stripes. He wrote Stripes. And Meatballs. So I know a lot of more of his like written stuff for sure. So in that regard, I feel like he realized that you can't just have comedy for comedy's sake. There has to be at least something a little deeper. It doesn't have to be, waxing poetical, life-changing event, but you have to have something that your characters are going through that grounds them into being different in Act 3 versus Act 1. And it's not just round after round of jokes and jokes. Because, we can all think of, like, I don't want to say lowbrow, but like comedy movies that are just comedy movies for comedy's sake. And they're just almost slapstick. And whereas this is, I feel like that is kind of what I think of when I think of Ramis, is he's going to put those pieces in. And not that it's an Ramis exclusive. Obviously, other people do that with comedy films.
But there's an arc.
There is an arc. Yeah.
There's a character arc. There's growth. There's change.
If you hate him in the beginning, you'll like him in the end because of that arc, not because nothing happened.
Yes, and to give credit where it's due, Ramis winds up taking this script and injecting more comedy into it, and it starts life as it's written by a person named Danny Rubin, and this is undoubtedly what he would be best known for. And the film, as it was written, had less comedy in it. It was more about that despairing feeling of, what am I doing with my life? I'm stuck in a rut. And it's supposed to be relational, to your point, Darren, about how we can all feel sometimes, where it's like, how am I differentiating the days at this point? It all feels like I'm just waking up and I'm just repeating yesterday over and over again for the rest of my life. Now, Tristan, this is your first time that you can recall watching it all the way through. Do you feel that there is a good balance? Did Ramis strike a good balance between the comedy and some of the deeper aspects to it? Did one overpower the other, or do you think that one cannibalized the other for the sake of, did comedy cannibalize the deeper stuff for the cheap joke, or did the heavier stuff deaden the humor at all for you?
No, I think that's a solid question. I think that's a really great question to ask about this film, because this is a highly rated film. Like, this is beloved not just by the audience, but by critics alike. And this is, like Darren, you're talking about Ramis' signature of having that arc within the characters, even in a crazy movie. This is no different. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this movie, is that you have that arc where he's a jerk and then goes and becomes a nicer person and a good guy. But we see him struggle with that. We see him make the decision. I think one thing that really impacted me, and I promise I'm going to get to your question. One thing that really impacted me was they show the structure of the film. Even though it's a 3-act film, his journey is almost in a 5-act structure when you see the 5 stages of grief. And they literally translated the script into the 5 stages of grief. And when you watch it with that kind of perception, or perspective, I should say, it really hits home. And when you look at the love and attention that Ramis and the screenwriter and Murray took towards this movie, and said, like, this is his journey. This is Murray's character's journey. He's going through the 5 stages of grief, and the audience has to go along with him. And I think in order to go along with him, you have to not like him, but still find him funny. And that's a hard balance, but Murray finds it. And I think that's very much a Murray contribution. And I think they originally wanted Tom Hanks for the role. I think Ramis wanted Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks, they said that Tom Hanks is too nice. So you couldn't start as a jerk and then love him at the end, because everybody loves Tom Hanks. Bill Murray totally can pull off being a jackass at the beginning of a film. Well, this is after
Scrooged. I mean, this is after we've seen him be a jerk in many movies. It's not a stretch.
Yes.
It's not a stretch.
Well, it's not a stretch, and just to jump into that, one of the other people that were considered, Michael Keaton, who passed on it.
I could see Keaton doing this movie.
But Keaton turned it down because he said he simply did not understand the film. And he later said, I regret that I passed on this. I think that Keaton
reminds me of was it like Sean Connery trying to be cast as Gandalf or something and said no because he didn't understand the film, or some actor in Lord of the Rings like was considered and just didn't get it, and it was like they regretted it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I can't see Sean Connery doing Gandalf. I can see Keaton doing
it's not,
this.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think it was Sean Connery was approached for Gandalf.
There are sometimes serendipitous moments where the person they wanted couldn't do it.
Right.
And you're like, boy, you dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, to answer your question, with all of that setup, I think there was a really great balance with this. I really think that you felt sad that this guy felt the need to kill himself, but they did it in a humorous way. And you felt bad that this guy felt lost, but then you were rooting for him to better himself and help people around him. It went back and forth. And even when which was, I think, the crux of the film, is when he's trying to seduce, what's her name? Andy McDowell.
Andy McDowell. Yeah.
He's trying to seduce Andy McDowell, and it's not working. And like he tries and tries and tries, and then at the time when he realizes, like, it's not even him realizing it and saying like, oh, this is how I'm going to get her. It's just him accepting it, that it's not seduction that's going to win her over. It's just being genuine, just being a good person, and being the person who you are. This is a funny journey, but it's heartfelt at the same time.
Now, see, I want to speak to that too, because I think that, because Darren, you mentioned that he had been Scrooged by this point. I think that Groundhog Day functions as a much more modern day telling of that sort of Scrooge story, because it takes him a long time to get through it. I think you said he's trying to...
It's years, yeah.
Yeah, it's years. It's not an overnight transformation for him. This is something where he is literally trapped in this loop for such a long time. You can understand why he goes through those stages. Like you said, you pointed out, Tristan, the stages of grief, until finally at the end he accepts. He's like, you know what? Maybe this is the rest of my life. Okay, I'm going to try to do the right thing so long as I'm here. And he's not doing it to try to figure out how to get out of the loop. And I say all of that his pursuit of Rita, he thinks at one point, and I think the entire audience goes along with it, he just has to figure out how to make her fall in love with him, and then he'll get out of the loop and everything will be fine. And he does it, but he doesn't get out of the loop. And that's when he realizes that's not the key. And it, in a sense, it flips it all on its head, because we're all expecting from watching so many other movies like this, all it's going to take is that she falls in love with him, music swells, and we're done.
Right.
Whereas with this, he has to show actual internal change. Now, in terms of that internal change, Darren, reportedly, this is the film that broke the friendship of Bill Murray and Harold Ramis.
I did read that. Yeah, that it was the last time they worked together and the last time they spoke for like 20 years until Ramis was about to pass.
So my question is this. Do you detect anything in Murray's performance or anything else about the structure of the film that speaks to conflict between the director and the star?
Again, looking a little bit at articles and looking into that, I don't think it had anything to do with the actual filming. I think it had to do with after the fact, and the movie is a success, and Bill Murray is starting to worry, like, people are pigeonholing me as like, oh, it's the Murray-Ramis combo. Like, Murray can't succeed without Ramis. And I think that hit his ego in a way that... So I honestly don't think it has anything to do with the movie itself. I think it could have been a movie about anything, but it was a Ramis... That's what at least I was led to believe from what I looked into.
I've seen a couple of different things. I've seen a couple of different theories. I mean, obviously, nobody knows except for Ramis and Murray. But one thing that I read was that during this movie, Murray was going through a divorce. And he threw himself into this movie. He threw himself into his work. The most important thing in his life was this movie. And so he obsessed over it, and he obsessed over the script. And he would call Harold Ramis up at like crazy hours in the morning with ideas and how he could improve the script or how he could improve the performance or what they could do differently.
Okay, that sounds like that would lead to a bit of strain on the friendship.
Yeah, and Ramis was, was getting a little crazed by it and would like realize that he needed to, he needed to do this movie but also keep his star happy. And so he kind of pawned him off to the screenwriter and said like, okay, how about you just go, I'm blanking on his name, I'm sorry. How about you just go to the screen, I'm sorry?
Ruben,
thank you. Go to Ruben, just you guys hash it out and just figure it all out and then get back to me. And somebody wrote down, I don't know if this is true, that Bill Murray felt slighted by that Ramis wasn't interested in his ideas and was just pawning him off to the screenwriter, and that hurt his ego, and so that started the rift. Or at least, I guess, it excelled the rift.
I mean,
but who knows?
It's usually not ever one thing. It's usually a domino of many pieces, and maybe that slight was the straw that broke the camel's back, or because you have a very story, like the technical challenge of this story, like you got to get it down. So I'm thinking on Ramis' side, like he's like, I got to get film in the can. Like I can't or if you make too much of a change in one part, well, you're going to repeat that over and over. So you would have to reshoot certain parts if it was in the certain part of the sequence. So it's like you have to just keep the ball rolling. But I will say for this movie, I mean, the time loop has been done. Like it's been done in television. It's been done in movies. I think of like one of my favorite Stargate episodes, has like, it's all about that time loop. And it's like, and especially when they realize I can get away with anything, like that's the fun aspect. But this movie, you got to thread the needle of showing that time is looping, but not retelling the exact same 10 minutes in 10 minutes of time. And they nail it. Like, especially when he is wooing, is it Rita? I think. Yeah.
Rita,
when he's wooing Rita, and it's like, he'll say, okay, no hot chocolate. And then it kind of flashes, or you see them come back into the diner and it picks up right there. And like they ease you into it, but everything else of the day happened up to that point, roughly about the same. And this is the change he's making. Like, that's a really hard principle to get across to people who are linear beings and don't live in time loops. So, I applaud it. I mean, I think we all do. I think we all look at this as an example of a time loop movie that really sells it, because that is difficult to do.
I actually was just the other day watching the Star Trek Next Gen episode, the one with Frasier in it.
The Kelsey Grammer one.
Yeah.
The Kelsey
Everybody
Grammer
knows
one.
which one it is now. Yeah.
Cause and effect.
Cause and Effect. Thank you. I was watching Cause and Effect, and I was just bragging about it online, just saying this is such a great episode. It's such a great Groundhog Day episode. And then someone chimed in and said like, oh yeah, that came out like a year before Groundhog Day. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's true. It would have been like early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruben stated that the idea came to him from the book The Vampire Lestat, which is the second book in the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice, because a major theme of that book, and it is a tremendous book. I don't think any of the I didn't read beyond a certain point of the series, but the earlier books in the Vampire Chronicles, the films have never done them justice, but the Vampire Lestat is one hell of a book, and the whole theme of that book is Lestat basically wishes he could, like he details how he tries to kill himself and he can't do it, and so like eventually he just gets to the point where he's like,
so he's not time looping, but he's an immortal living through time at speed, at normal speed, and it's like, I'm gonna outlive all my friends. I'm gonna all of those things we think are going to be great about immortality, but are actually curses.
Yeah, I read it many years ago, but I remember it very, very fondly. And a big point about it was that Lestat was in this sort of situation where he tried to kill himself and he just couldn't. And it was just, and so he just eventually got to the point where he's like, all right, well, I'm just going to be who I am then. But I think that, I'm personally of the opinion, those moments that you're talking about, Darren, it's even more than knowing that everything went up to that point. There's this really, I think, terrific editing decision where it comes in almost like half a beat later than you expect it to in the repeat, so that it moves so quickly and it doesn't even waste time with him walking in the room again. He's already taking a seat at the bar. He's halfway through taking a seat at the bar.
Because like I said, you got to nail it. Like too early, and you're like, I've seen this already. Like, why are we showing them walk in 5 times? Too late, and you're like, wait, what did he change? When is it happening? When did he think about it? I also love after the first loop after he woos her, but then it resets, and you can tell he's kind of like, well, that's disappointing. Like he's so kind of done with, because he's focused on that part of the loop for so long, and he's like, I got it, I did it, I beat it, and then he's like, oh, if I want to do that, I have to focus on that again and start over, and it's that square one syndrome of like, man, I don't want, and that's when he starts to like hear the piano, and maybe he goes and finds a piano teacher, and the ice sculpting, and I think that's when he kind of starts to, actually, I think he takes a dark turn at that point, but eventually he works out towards bettering himself more.
Well, I would also give a tip of the hat to the cinematographer, John Bailey, because I think that he's repeating the same day. And Tristan, maybe you'll disagree with me on this, but I look at this and I see a continuity in the look. Like, it's not the same weather every day when you're shooting, but visually it feels like the same day every time you're watching it. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I buy that this is happening again to him. I don't see this as like the lighting mismatches or, that sort of thing. Everything looks very consistent, and I buy that it's the same day over and over again.
Well, what's interesting about that is, this wasn't shot in Pennsylvania. This was shot in Illinois. Right. This was shot just about an hour west of me, where I live. And right now, if you shot it during the wintertime, which they did, every day is gray right now. Oh my God. It's just gray. It's monotonous. It's depressing. It's gray. So you have a real solid chance of getting continuity in your day. Like, no matter what day you shoot on, it's going to be gray. It's going to be cold. It's going to be gray, and it's going to look like crap. It's going to look like mush. And that's what these days did. And one thing that you can really tell is that when they found an angle, or like when they found a moment, like when Tobolowsky comes, the insurance salesman, like they didn't shoot that a whole bunch of different times. They didn't like shoot those on different days. Like, they would have shot all of his stuff at one time. Like, it's just like, come around and, this is your second time doing it. This is your third time doing it. You're an asshole this time. You're a nice guy this time. You just do that. It's like when Fincher does 22 takes, but yet you use all 22 of those takes, unlike Fincher. Mm-hmm. And so to me, they had, like, with this movie had to take tons and tons of pre-production and knowing what you wanted to do. And so that's what really surprises me about Bill Murray calling up Ramis in the middle of the night saying we should do something like this, because this takes a lot of planning and figuring out exactly what you need to get and when, because there's most likely no coming back.
Well, Murray is well known as somebody who loves to improv as well. So that would have undoubtedly led to a fair amount of tension, because improv is in the moment. And if you have to do it 30 times, it's never going to be the same energy. You can't vary that much. You have to hit your mark each time. So I wonder if some of that frustration as well is Murray being boxed in. There's only so much he can do. And even if he comes up with something phenomenal in the moment, he's probably going to have to do it if that's the thing where you're like, yeah, that's the thing that's going to make the audience laugh, now do it 30 times. That's going to wear on somebody who likes to riff and fly by the seat of his pants on screen.
Well, and that's what I wanted to ask you, Tristan, because has there ever been a Caddyshack documentary? I kind of hope there is, because I was very curious how they shot it, if they shot it like you were saying. I mean, yeah, it makes sense for the Ned Ryinger stuff. Like, that's a single guy in mostly one location. You know, you could let's shoot all the Ned stuff right now, and then it's all done. And we don't, and just monetarily, like, that's why films aren't shot in sequence all the time, because it would take so much money of, okay, now we got to put all the cars back in this. Like, obviously you shoot in sequence chunks. So I'm curious, like, did they do every wake up shot first, you know, in his bed, you know, all the mornings? I'm assuming so, but I don't know. I don't have any knowledge on that.
That would absolutely be my guess, is that anything that was done on location, they would have done all at once. Like, when you're shooting in the town square and you have that many extras.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, you're going to shoot all of that at once. You're not going to shoot that on multiple days. Or if you do shoot it on multiple days, it's consecutive multiple days. And the waking up stuff, that's in a studio. So you could do that all at one time, but if you have an idea, you can go back to it. Right. If that set is still up. So I think with this film, like, as I was watching it, like, from an editor's perspective, from a filmmaking perspective, it's very much, so even the camera placement is the same. It's not even like, oh, well, you know, like, they're in the same location, but the camera's in a different spot. It's like, there was a lot of times when you could tell, oh, they kept the camera exactly where it was and just said action again. So this was very much film the entire breadth of the movie from this one shot in this one location as many times as you can, and then you move on to the next one.
Now that I think about it, you're right. In other time loop movies, they change the camera because it denotes this is a different loop. So it's like, now you're 180 on the other side of the, restaurant, and you're seeing it from a whole other point of view, but they don't do that. It's very, very much the same shots, the same angle, little differences, obviously. Like, I think of, like you were saying, in the town square with, with the Groundhog, like, at the end, it feels different when he's on the finishing loop, and he's like, everyone's around him with bated breath and all their microphones, and that has a different feel than every other time we've done that, him just giving his bit on camera. So yeah, you think of, like, I know it's a 4-letter word for us, but like, it is a masterclass of editing, really. Like, to edit this, which is a movie within a movie, like, and like sequencing, and, oh, we love this take, but he's actually acting depressed in this take, so we have to use it during the depressed time and not during the I've accepted time. Like, there's so many aspects you would have to juggle.
Mm-hmm. Murray would get a little upset with Murray would get a little upset with Ramis, because Ramis would say, like, okay, in this scene, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're going through, this is how I want you to act. And Murray would just get a little frustrated and go, like, okay, do I need to be a jerk? Am I the good guy, or am I the bad guy? And he's like, well,
on
just
0 to 100, give me a percentage today. Where are we? That's a good point.
Speaking of 0 to 100, the choice to use "I Got You, Babe" by Sonny and Cher, I would say that unquestionably that song went from cute novelty hit of the 70s to that's the song from Groundhog Day. It's hard to say, but Darren, is there any other song that you think could have been effective in being the repetitive song that he wakes up to without turning into something you dreaded hearing? Like, is this one of those perfect songs where it's cute annoying? Every time you heard it before this, it was like, oh, okay, that song, but you never hate it. Do you think that there are Is this is this one of the better songs they could have chosen, or would you have chosen a different song? Is there a different song that would have been able to slot into this for you?
Yeah, because I think no matter what you pick, it will be annoying by the end. Like, it could be the best song, and like you're going to be annoyed. Bill Murray's character is going to be annoyed. Phil, and gosh, I was trying to think, because what works so well with "I Got You, Babe" is they pick it up on that line, the chorus line, like everybody knows that line. Like, they could have started anywhere in that song, and it would have kind of been like, wait, you're going to take a couple of seconds to realize what you're listening to. But no, that's the moment when the announcers come in, because they know this is what everyone's going to relate to. I'm going to need more than like a minute to think of a good replacement song. But I think for all intents and purposes, this was a perfect song for that. And it's so ingrained now that you could have like a show like Community or something, and the character wakes up to "I Got You, Babe," and like you make a connection. That means something in our culture now, waking up to "I Got You, Babe" because of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a type of song that makes a lot of sense for a morning show to be playing, because they've got to play something that, every one of us getting up for a commute in the morning, you need something that's, going to sort of lightly wake you up and not make you want to drive your car straight into a brick wall because you realize you have another 35 minutes in horrendous traffic, staring you down right in the soul. So in terms of all of this, everybody talks about Murray. We're talking about Ramis. We've talked about Rubin, but I think somebody that gets a little overlooked sometimes is Andie MacDowell as Rita. And Andie MacDowell is on record as saying she never tried to match Murray's improv skills. Like, she wasn't there to be a comedian. She was there to play a role, and that was actually something that Ramis was looking for. They decided early on they didn't want somebody to try to match Murray, comic beat for comic beat.
Well, she's the straight man. She has to be.
Yes. And Tristan, I want to know, Andie MacDowell, do you think she just absolutely owns this character? Or is this something where you could see another actress slide in, so long as they didn't try to be funny, this could have gone to just about anybody else? Or does she bring something special to this role that you think makes it hers?
I mean, I wish I could be nice and say something special and kind, but no, I think this is a pretty thankless role. This is a necessary role. I think it's absolutely key to the film, but this is all according to the writing. The performance is absolutely secondary. I think anybody could have brought something special to this role, or any actress could have brought their own personality to this character, because this character just needs to be a good person. That's it. Just a good person. She's not really unique. She doesn't really bring anything unique to the table. It's really just be here, be the foil to the jerk version of Bill Murray, and that's really all you need to do. So Andie MacDowell, I think, did a fine job. I think she brought her own personality to it, and I really like Andie MacDowell. I think she's a fantastic actress. I've seen her do a lot of great stuff over the years, but this is one of the things where this was the writer's job to bring this character to life, and Andie MacDowell just kind of stepped into her cue, said her lines, and then went home.
I will say that her character also had to kind of thread a needle of, because I think, don't they establish she's new to the studio, right? Like, she's new to the production. Yes. So she doesn't have a history with him. She kind of, she knows him, but she's not like, oh, I've worked with him for 10 years. He's like, then I would never believe that she would assume, oh, you're a nice guy now. Like, it's so ingrained. So that was good writing, but she had to kind of balance, someone who is taking at face value what Phil is putting out, because on the first loop, before the first sleep, he's a jerk. He's very self-centered. He's very selfish. And yeah, it's like she has to give a performance meshed with Murray's that convinces us by the end that she could fall in love with this in one day. Like that is still really hard to do, because, one day is not a lot of time, especially when you think of like the first, 3 hours of the day are just them doing their, news bit. So nothing's really changed at that point.
Where I'll give McDowell credit, and I do think that Darren, you're actually speaking to one of those things that is maybe a hiccup with the movie, is that there's a little bit of a cheat where it is one day, but by the end you sort of lose focus on the fact that she does fall in love with him in one day. But at the same time, it's a fairy tale, and the love at first sight sort of thing, struck by the thunderbolt, it happens. It actually does happen. But what I agree with you, Tristan, overall, that this is a thankless role, that this is primarily in the writing, and that there are other actresses who could have played it. But I do think that McDowell is able to convey a sort of a sweet naivete about the character in certain moments that help sell the character as, to your point, Darren, somebody so optimistic and positive about life in general that his transformation, she's the type of person that can sniff out whether somebody's genuine. You believe that this is the character that can sense whether somebody truly is a good person.
And that's why in the wooing arc, when he does woo her, but there's still that tiny nugget of like, but he's not genuine. And that's what's different between that arc and, he's trying, and it's kind of creepy when you think about it. Like, if someone that I kind of barely knew had all of the same favorites as me, right, like down the line, I'd be getting weirded out. It's like, well, I always say a prayer for world peace. Really? Okay. Like, that seems oddly specific to what I do.
Right.
I think that bit is my like that section where he's trying to woo her, and we see that quick editing of just the new stuff that he tries. That's my favorite section of the movie, like, because I feel like this was Bill Murray in his purest form, was during that section. Like, that's when he was the best performer. Because like during the world peace thing, when he says, he's like, I always like toast to world peace and say a quiet prayer or something like that. And then like they toast, and just ever so quietly goes, amen. It's just it was perfectly timed, perfectly said. And then when they're building the snowman and things go really well until they don't, and then we see him do it again, but he's kind of lost it a little bit. Like, you can tell he's getting tired of it, and he doesn't quite know what to do, and he's getting a little kooky, and he's just like, it's like, oh, children are throwing snowballs at us.
You scamp, you scampy
are any of
child.
you up for adoption?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah, my wife and I absolutely lost it at that part.
Now, a big concern with a film like this, especially a comedy, is does it play with the kids the same way it did for me when I was younger, or even you guys when you were younger? And I can happily say that a few years ago, this was one of those Fathom events where they had a single day release for Groundhog Day or whatever, and because of the day that it lined up on, my middle child, I would say, hey, you want to go see this? And her flat out response was no. And I said, well, okay, but I'll buy you any candy you want, popcorn, the whole 9 yards. Your dad just doesn't want to go alone. And she begrudgingly said, yeah, okay, fine. And we went, and she enjoyed it. She laughed. She thought it worked for her. And I just had to say, it's a joy when you have something like that. Now, obviously, she's my kid, so there's going to be some sort of, alignment in terms of senses of humor and stuff like that. But it is a I think, a testament to the movie that a completely different generation can sit down, watch it, and say, I find the humor here. I think this is funny too. And so, I have to give it credit, because as much as we might want to sit there, and I know that I want to sit there and be like, well, you could have tightened this up. You could have done this differently. I don't know if that's really the funniest line you could have gotten. The fact that it works for my kid is so huge, and sort of slaps me in the face and says, are you maybe looking at it just a little too closely? Like, maybe you should just be enjoying what's going on instead of trying to pick it apart. I think that counts for something.
No, I think that does. I think it really does. I mean, like, even you and I are from, even though we're not that far in age, we're still of, two different generations. And so, we both find it funny. But for you to show it to your kid, who is still young, it's not like you have an adult kid or anything like that. Like, right. It's like that is a testament. That's a testament to that type of humor that transcends its time and shows that there's a universality to it. Like, when you watch this movie, you don't think, oh, that's so 80s or that's so 90s or so that's so 2002. Like, there is something that is timeless. No pun intended, but like, it's a timeless classic. And like, the only thing that really gives it away is the camera that the guy uses.
It's not the lack of cell phones. It's not the paucity of, there's no computer in the bed and breakfast. It's the type of camera that Larry uses is the dead giveaway. Okay.
Well, honestly, like, even the lack of cell phone, like, I never even thought that once while watching it. Like, oh, there's no cell phones in this. Like, it's just...
That's fair, actually. That is really fair, because that is it does exist in a spot sort of like Die Hard, where you don't really think about the lack of the cell phone. Yeah. And that's probably, I would say, a tribute to the editing, because it doesn't give you the time. It gives you enough time to spend with the characters and have this arc and feel like something is actually going on, without giving you that disinterested moment where you go, oh, well, that could have been solved like this. Well, that, okay, that took me out of it. Like, it keeps moving along at a point. And I think that, to its credit, it puts him in the loop I think it takes just the right amount of time to get him there. Like, a movie like this, it's very easy, especially now, to move it too quickly. A lot of movies can get caught up in their own head and their own conceit, and they either go too fast or too slow. I think that they put Phil in the loop at just the right moment. It's just at the point where you're like, okay, what's going? Oh, okay, now we're into it. And I think that is it's an important thing to get him in the flow of things before you get tired of the setup. And I think that they do a very good job of that here.
Do you have a favorite part of this movie? And, when you think back to this movie, when you think Groundhog Day, like, what pops into your brain when you're like, yeah, that's a good time?
Needle Nose Ned, Stephen Tobolowsky, because I honestly, for all of the relatable moments, I think that running across somebody that you've forgotten / didn't necessarily care for, and then being overjoyed, and that feeling of obligation to give that energy back to them, there's something obscenely enjoyable about Phil not giving that energy back. Of like, no, I don't know. Why are you talking to me? Like, I haven't seen you in 20 years.
Yeah, like, you don't. He rejects that social contract.
Yes,
that we all have, where it's just like, if someone is super excited to see you, no matter if you're not, and there's someone from your past, you have to match that energy. It's just like with the woman that he tries to sleep with. Like, he tricks her into thinking that they have a past. They don't have a past together, but yet she has that social contract where she has to match his energy and go like, yeah, you were awesome. I loved you in high school. You were great. I had a moment like that where someone came up to me in a Starbucks, tapped me on the shoulder and said, Tristan, how are you doing? And I go, oh my gosh, how are you doing? I to this day have no idea. No clue who this person was. And then she brought over her husband. And the husband's like, Tristan, it's so good to see you. I'm like, you too, man. You too, man.
Yeah, it's that, and then tied with that, I do love all of the times he tries to off himself, but especially when he's got the groundhog and he's sitting there, and it was in the ads everywhere, but I just love the way he delivers the line, don't drive angry. It's just like this weird thing going on. I really love that. What about you? Do you have a favorite part?
Well, I mentioned my favorite part. Like my favorite part is when there's throwing snowballs and everything like that. But I want to go back to the groundhog stuff. Apparently he got bit by that groundhog like 3 times so bad that he had to be on anti-rabies medication for like a big portion of the shoot, like get the shots and everything like that because he got bit so hard and so often.
Then it's surprising that he did not pull a Bill de Blasio with the thing. So look it up, kids. There was a Staten Island groundhog and an unfortunate incident with New York City's mayor at the time. But Darren,
Yes.
what is your favorite part of Groundhog Day? Do you have a favorite part of Groundhog Day?
I probably do. Yeah, no, I'll say two examples. One is just, again, that tight editing when towards the, like Tristan was saying, towards the end of the wooing arc, because the ramp up is so smooth from, because I think you see the first try and then you see like about half of the second try and then like a third of the third try, and it just goes boom, 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 boom. And it guides you into the concept of this is what it's going to be like now, is him setting aside. And I love the little moments where she catches him on it, where he's like, are you making a list? Because he's trying to remember, because I'm trying to think, how well would I do in a Groundhog's Day situation? I'm like, man, my memory is terrible. Like I would be like, oh, okay, like first word, first letter of this word. How do I remember all these people's names? And I mean, obviously he has massive amounts of repetition, which helps it come together. But I would say I really enjoy everything with Larry. Just Larry, the camera guy, is like, he is a one-note character, which is fine. But it's like, I think it's pre-Cabin Boy. Like he had kind of like hadn't really like run as the lead of his own film. But it's this fun little bit spot.
Pulling Cabin Boy as a positive memory is one heck of a thing. I believe that came out in 1994.
Him being the lead of a movie. So he's still in the...
I hear you.
I'm not defending Cabin Boy. Don't put me in that box.
At one point, I was one of the world's biggest Chris Elliott fans. And I think that he's especially good at playing this type of character, like the lovable dope who...
He's in The Abyss. I gotta love The Abyss.
Yeah. But just like he's so good at playing the lovable dope, especially like he's so good. He is an underappreciated comic actor, I think, because he's never hit it big. It's like Colin Quinn in stand-up. He's really well respected. Everybody who knows stand-up loves him, but he's never going to be that sort of like household star name. That's the spot that Chris Elliott sort of is with comic actors.
And Elliott is constantly working. He's in tons of television. Like if you look at his IMDb, it's just, man, this guy is one of those character actors that just casting directors know him, love him, and they know exactly what he can do. And this guy can work in any show at any time. You got to really respect that.
Mm-hmm. I do. I think Chris Elliott is wonderful, and so I do. I think it's there's a lot of casting in this, including Rick Overton as one of the locals, who we saw in The Burbs when we did House of Dante, and naturally Brian Doyle Murray is going to be in a Bill Murray movie. It seems required by law that would happen. So here we are. We've been talking about it for just about an hour. So it's time for parting thoughts and ratings. And so we'll start with you, Darren, because since this was Tristan's first real time all the way through, we're actually going to let you go last, Tristan, this time.
Does that even count, though? Because all the way through, what does that mean in a Groundhog's Day movie? I mean, you could watch it piecemeal, and it's basically like you could have watched it out of order, and it would almost not even matter.
That's a fair point.
No, I'll definitely go first. So how many cycles? The limit is 5. So, but now I'm going to give this a solid 4. It's a fun movie. It's a good comedy. Like comedies, people are like, oh, it's easy. You just made a comedy. No, comedy is not easy. Comedy, especially to be universally kind of adored. Like people really like this. I don't know. I mean, I haven't made a poll, but I don't really know anyone who's like, I hate Caddyshack. Man, it just time movies and loops. It gives me a headache. Nobody says that. It's a fun Bill Murray movie. It's Harold Ramis. It's a love story. It's a fantasy. It's seeing him go on this tortured journey of trying to get out in full acceptance. And you feel that cathartic, I'm kind of almost glad that they don't have he's not striving for the perfect day at the end. It just happens. And it's not like, oh, this was the perfect day, but it's gonna go away. Like he's past that. He's past that by the end. He doesn't care if it loops tomorrow. He's lost count of how many days it's been. But yeah, I think even just the fact that we chose to just do this one-off. We were like, hey, what do we want to talk about this week? And I recommended Groundhog's Day because, it is Groundhog's Day. And we're fine with just watching Groundhog's Day. It's a great one and done Harold Ramis. Not that we can't return to him as a director, but we'll give him, next time around, I'm going to say this in a little more sum up type of a way. But for this loop, 4 stars.
If we come back to Ramis, we'll have to upgrade from a gazebo. So, that's the one thing. So, Tristan, I'll kick it over to you. Here on your first real remembered viewing of Groundhog Day, what rating do you give it?
I'm like Darren. I give it a solid 4. This is a really good movie. This is a classic. This deserves its place in history.
4. Sorry, that's it.
I do. I think it's great. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I think it's anywhere near perfect? No, not at all. But it's really good. It's a really great movie. But it doesn't need to be a 4.5 or a 5-star film. Does that make sense? Like I enjoy this a great deal, but I also don't think I need to watch it again. I think there's a lot of great things about it, but I watched it. Pretty cool. Think it's great. Murray's great. Ramis is great. McDowell's great. Elliott's great. Everything worked for the most part. There was a few things where you're like, okay, this is still short at 1 hour and 42 minutes, but it probably could have been 90 minutes. There's just a few things where I'm just like,
I was going to say, what would you take out, Tristan? Because how would you take things out because of the looping? Like, would you have less loops or would you pull whole sections?
I think you could, like the Clint Eastwood stuff.
That's a gag that just doesn't work.
Low hanging fruit. That's true.
Yeah. Like him sleeping, like seducing and sleeping with that girl. I don't think you need that at all.
I would fight you on that one in the editing bay, specifically because it shows what a scumbag he is at that point.
And the first girl he goes after isn't her. Isn't the lead. Like that would be a little much.
I think it shows. I think it services the story because it's like, okay, he's having a life. Like he's trying to have a sex life in this realm. Like he's not a monk or anything like that. So I get that. But at the same time, it could have been done differently or shorter. I don't know. It just, if you wanted to excise, I'm not saying it didn't have a purpose or was meaningless, but I think if you wanted to cut for time, I think that probably would have been the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of things here and there that you can trim. I will say that in terms of affection for the film, I don't watch this every single year. This is not something where I watch it every single Groundhog Day, but I have seen it more than once, in the theater, no less. And I would say that I agree with you too. It's a solid 4, but I mean, it's just a solid entertainment, but it's not something where I feel compelled to sit there and watch and rewatch it every single year. It's something I revisit every so often. It gives me the warm and fuzzies. I think it doesn't work without Murray. I agree with you, Tristan. You can see Keaton in this. I might even be able to see Hanks. I can't really see Hanks in this. But Murray brings that Bill Murray-ness to it that just always makes it a little extra. He just has that energy that's necessary. And yes, he perfected as an art, whether it's something within him about his real personality or whatever, he has perfected the art of playing the lovable douchebag. And he does the same thing 6 years from now, from when this movie is released, in Rushmore, where he's a lovable douchebag all over again. And it's like he has refined it to the point where I don't think any other actor will ever be able to play this role the way he can. So he's a 5. My affection for the movie is probably a 5. I think there are bits in it. They're absolutely classic. But overall, I'm giving it a 4. So we all agree on the 4 because we are heartless people. And buckle up, buckaroos, because next week we're going to be bringing in our sights Nicholas Meyer, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan!
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.